welcome to ZipTrader. So today we're going to be talking about natural gas ETFs and stocks and how you could trade them in 2019. Now I'm going to be going over exactly how colder weather and higher consumption of natural gas can impact the share's price, how you can predict that, how you can read reports that talk about the natural gas supply and demand and how that factors in. When you have smaller supply and you have increased demand, that leads to higher prices and how that impacts the share value. And we're going to be going over all of that. And for all of this, the only thing that I ask of you is to hit that like button and also subscribe if you haven't already done so in the past. Okay, so my favorite natural gas stock index fund that fits my volatility and recovery requirement is UGAZ. Now, UGAZ tracks UNG and leverages its movements 3 times. So basically that means if UNG goes up by 1%, UGAZ goes up by 3% and vice versa. So the reason that I like UGAZ is that it tends to be very volatile intraday and allows for many opportunities to get in at discount positions. Now, UGAZ is currently going through a sell-off, but in the months leading up to the sell-off, we saw a massive growth of share value. So with winter and colder months, there's going to be an increase of consumption of gas and natural gas in particular. So you have to factor in that other people are seeing these record lows. So even if it doesn't impact the share value, we'll see a run up because people hype the news, and that's exactly what we saw. The reasoning behind this is intuitive. The colder the winter, the more people need to consume, and thus more revenue for the company. October and November, we started hearing a lot of news that we were going to have a record winter, and as a result, people overhyped that news, and the stock price gapped up massively. Now, as always, people tend to overbuy good news, and we see this very clearly with the later run down of share value as people realized that this news was indeed overhyped. But not only was it overhyped, but it later dipped below its previous price point. So that means that it was overhyped so much that even the previous support could not hold. But the important part here is that on the way down, it provided many opportunities to profit and many people, and ZipTrader saw 30% price gaps up at market open, and the price did skyrocket quite a bit over the past couple months of 2018. Now, if you have been following my trade videos, you know that I managed to catch some of these moves, but now that the stock has crossed below long-term support, we are going to be employing a bit of a different strategy. So with this continued sell-off of natural gas and UGAZ, we are going to need to flip our strategy, or at least adjust our strategy based on the new market conditions. So DGAZ is the inverse or short biased fund on UGAZ, so that if UGAZ goes down by 1%, DGAZ goes up by 1% and vice versa. So if you pull up the chart for DGAZ, you see that of course the stock price has that upward growth trend pattern in the past 10 days, since it is the opposite of UGAZ's downward pattern, and we see it consistently making higher highs. Now, this is where the natural gas report and overall market conditions tie in. So natural gas right now is at an all-time low in terms of storage. So for those of you who know basic economics, 2 ways to raise a price of an item. That's either through supply or through demand. In this case, we see much lower supply than usual, but we also see lower demand, and thus the price continues to go down, causing the index to have a sell-off. So at this point, if we see colder weather in parts of the country, we will see an increased demand, and that will drive the stock price back up rapidly, since there's also less supply, and less supply combined with more demand will increase the share price. However, to determine where supply and demand are so that you can make your investment and trading decision on these stocks, you're going to need to know a little bit about the natural gas report. Now, the way that we can tell how the stock and overall natural gas is going to perform ahead of time, or have a general idea of where the supply and demand curves are, is by following the weekly gas reports. These are pushed out by the EIA every week on Thursday or Friday, usually Thursday, but you can read this report to find out if natural gas and flow has increased or decreased, and if it has decreased, you know that the supply has decreased. So if demand has stayed equal while the supply has decreased, we should see an increase in natural gas prices. I put a link in the description below to the website that updates once a week with that information. It also shows usage, aka demand, and you can use this to tie in together and retrace how the stock price reacted to its previous supply and demand levels at the certain price points and time periods in the past. Furthermore, you can Google the weekly natural gas report and find analyst recommendations as well as their opinions on things that you might have missed from the EIA website. They also give you a good idea on whether or not the demand is shifting in the right direction if you don't yet understand how to break down and interpret these different data that is given to you on the EIA website. Anyways, if you want to learn more about how to trade UGAZ and DGAZ, I did a video on how I use support and resistance to make profit off it a couple weeks ago. So if you're interested in that, I put a link to that in the description as well. I feel like I need to mention some of the individual natural gas stocks since this is a overall natural gas stock video for 2019. So if you take a look at Chesapeake, CHK, it doesn't have the upward growth trend pattern that I like, since it closed lower than it started for the intra-year chart. Now, this does show signs that it has been discounted, since it has a history of bouncing off support here. But even if it has an upward growth trend pattern, when we see a stock being beat down for a long period of time, it's generally going to take longer to recover. And thus, this would not be ideal for a short-term position if all else was held equal. Taro has the same problem, as well as EQT. So while these might be good long-term positions for like multiple years or even decades, they most likely aren't going to be strong positions to take if you're looking to make shorter-term profits. So this is why I like to trade the entire index, because it provides you with a lot of volatility. And then when you track the entire natural gas index and then you leverage it 3 times, that allows you to really profit off the volatility and consistent, predictable moves intraday and intra-week. Again, I made a video and I'll link to that in the description below. I also have a day trading 101 video where it's basically a 16-minute video where I go in step-by-step guide to how I day trade, how the top traders day trade, as well as all the different steps and techniques that you need in order to be successful day trading. And it provides a really good foundation, and I think a lot of people have really enjoyed that video as well. So if you think that you'd be interested in that, I also have a link to that in the description below. So anyways, if you found this video helpful, and even if you didn't, go ahead and hit that like button, as well as the subscribe button, so you can see and keep up with more of our short, sweet, and simplified videos on how to trade the stock market. I wish you guys all of the best in trading in 2019, and I'm going to be with you on this trading journey every step of the way. So I'll see you guys in the next video.